Good morning. The May 30th, 2018 meeting of the Board of Estimate is now called to order. In the interest of promoting the order and efficiencies of these hearings, persons who are disruptive to the hearing will be asked to leave the hearing room immediately. Meetings of the Board of Estimate are open to the public for the duration of the meeting. The hearing room must be vacated at the conclusion of the meeting. Failure to comply may result in the charge of trespassing. Madam Deputy Controller, are there any corrections, additions, or deferrals on the agenda?
Good morning. For today's agenda, there is one correction on page 1 under item number 2, which is pre-qualification of architects and engineers. The second entry, which is Kumi Construction Management Corporation for engineer, should please be deleted. Add, please, to this list, EBA Engineering, Inc. The areas of qualification are engineer and land survey. I have the following abstentions to report. For the Honorable Mayor Pugh, there are no abstentions. The Honorable President Young will abstain on page 100, item 1, page 101, item 4, page 101, item 5, pages 127 through 129, page 149, items 1 and 2, and page 150, item number 3. The Honorable Comptroller Pratt will abstain on page 66 and on pages 89 through 91, item number 12. The following items remain on the non-routine agenda, and those are page 35 and page 109, items 1 and 2. Mr. President, members of the board, that is the one correction, the abstentions that have been reported, as well as the items that are on the non-routine agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. I will direct the board members' attention to the memorandum from my office dated May 29th, 2018, identifying matters to be considered as routine agenda items together with any corrections and additions that have been noted by the Deputy Controller. I will entertain the motion to approve all the items contained on the routine agenda.
Mr. President, I move approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion is carried. The routine agenda has been adopted. The first item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 35, Department of Audits, Audit Reports. Will the parties please come forward?
Good morning, members of the board. Marjorie Askew, Acting City Auditor. Baltimore City Department of Finance non-routine journal entry procedures audit for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2017. The purpose of this audit was based on our financial audits performed during fiscal year 2017. The Department of Audit noted many deficiencies within the agency level financials. We noted journal entries posted in fiscal year 15, 16, and 17 that related to original postings dated as far back as fiscal year 2018. That again prompted this audit. Our opinion, the Department of Finance operations related to non-routine journal entry procedures is severely deficient, partly because most of the year the department did not have controls over their processes. This is not a finding, this is an issue of concern. The process to gain access to the population of non-routine journal entries was convoluted for our staff. It took our auditors 2 weeks to gather the information needed just to begin testing. There was difficulty in querying the information. Our staff had to download by month. Being that we audited for a period of 1 month, and we'll refer to the next finding for more detail. This took too long to segregate the information for testing. We recommend adding a feature to Report Manager which will allow extraction of data by source. We further recommend that a source code be added to the general ledger in order to segregate between routine and non-routine GJ transactions. Now that the system has been upgraded to include the core integrator module, it would appear that differentiation can be made between those GJ transactions initiated in Dynamics versus those initiated in core integrator. The Department of Finance disagrees with that. I don't know if you want to talk about that now.
Good morning, Mr. President, Mayor Pugh, Controller Pratt, members of the board. I'm Henry Raymond, Director of Finance. As it relates to this, the department does disagree. We believe that the new system that was implemented November 17 of 17 does have the functionality to allow for reports to be prepared for the type of data reviews that audits needs to do as it relates to the journal entries. The issue was, prior to November 17 of 17, the prior journal entries had to be gathered using a different report writer. Since November 17, when we did the update to improve the journal entry process, it's much easier to extract the data as outlined in the audit report. So our disagreement is from the perspective that that functionality does exist. There should not be those types of difficulties extracting data moving forward since the implementation of the core integrator.
Okay, well, the auditor stated that they had to spend all this time doing it by hand and downloading it by month. So evidently something ain't right there. So I have to agree with the auditor that these findings are in fact deficient.
I stand by what we've put in writing, which is we disagree.
Okay, well, you can disagree, but would the auditor have already stated that they had a hard time gathering this information? You can say you disagree, but I don't disagree.
So
Okay.
can
The
I just
department-
add one
okay.
other thing? I think the auditor's made a point. We should just make sure whatever needs to be put in place is put in place.
Understood.
Just to update, the Department of Audit did not look at any items, or we did not perform any testing prior to November 2017, so our base is just on 1.5 months.
Okay.
During the course of the audit, this is our updated comment, the auditors found maneuvering through the system time-consuming. Neither volume of transaction nor size of the entity should matter for transaction review. In addition, users were not able to drill down on transactions, which would make it difficult to locate errors or omissions. The next one is a finding. Documentation of journal entry approval process, finding number 1. Prior to November 13, 2017, BAPS had no formal approval system required for journal entry postings. Because our audit was for the year January through December 2017, this limited our audit scope to 1.5 months. This is a material weakness related to the day-to-day operations for BAPS. There was an ability to attach notes or documents to journal entries, however, it was not used consistently. For the period November the 14th through December 31st, 2017, we know the journals can still be entered directly into Dynamics by a limited number of BAPS employees. From a sample of 26 transactions, we found one entry processed in Dynamics rather than Core Integrator, thereby circumventing the documented approval process. Recommendation: we recommend that the Dynamics add a feature to prevent journal entries from being initiated directly into Dynamics. This action would prevent journal entry processors from falling back into old routines and avoiding using the new enhanced system. Our agency response was the Department of Finance disagrees with our recommendation.
That is correct. All journal entries cannot be processed automatically. There will always be a need for certain manual adjustments. Examples of that would include the water billing system, UMAX. That is not an automatic load. Also, Munis, which is primarily for property tax, personal property tax, not real property tax. That's also manual adjustments. So we believe that there will always be a need for manual adjustments. And what we have done is we have put in place processes to improve the internal control regarding those adjustments. Only 4 accounting supervisors have the authority to review, determine if the adjustments are correct, based on appropriate documentation to make those changes. And according to the audit, there was 1 transaction out of 50 reviewed that was not performed correctly. Now, we concede that 1 was not done properly, but that's a 98% compliance rate. And for the 1 that was not done correctly, meaning that it should have gone through the core integrator instead of a manual entry into Dynamics. It was reviewed by a supervisor. It did have the appropriate documentation. So we believe that there were appropriate internal controls over that transaction.
I can agree with you on that one.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's okay, but I wanted to clarify, we actually tested 50, but of the 50, it wasn't all 50 related to the journal entry approval process. It was only 26, so it was actually 1 out of 26. And our audit was only for the non-routine GJs. It wasn't for all of the items that you just referred to, so they kind of does not go along with our finding. Now, the Department of Audit was not able to verify that BAPS reviewed the transactions in Dynamics, and there was no evidence of trail examination. Therefore, our findings still will stand, because 1 out of 26 is a lot. It should not be 1.
And again, Finance Department's disagreement stands.
Okay. The next one, allocation of procurement card charges to appropriate expenditure accounts, finding number 2. Department of Audit randomly selected and tested 24 journal entries for the allocation of credit card charges. 21 of the entries were not submitted within 15 business days of receipt of the bill, as per the Administrative Manual, Section 309. 10 of the entries were submitted without an approved log. In most of these instances, only the original bill was attached. A number of bills included tax on items and charges to retail establishments. Without, at minimum, the inclusion of an approved log, there was no way of knowing whether the charges were appropriate. Additionally, there was one entry which did not credit the 607080, the correct account, and it was approved by all levels, including BAPS. The initiator later incorrectly prepared the entry, debiting and crediting the same account in an attempt to correct the original entry, and that was approved as well. One additional entry was for an incorrect amount. There was a credit on the bill for an item which was returned. Rather than reducing the charge, the initiator tried to enter the amount as a negative debit. When the system rejected this transaction, the credit amount was just left out, and the journal was processed for $333 more than the billed amount. This too was approved by all levels of approvers, including BAPS. We recommend the city enforce the policy regarding submission of approved logs within 15 days of credit card receipt. We further recommend that the city amend the policy to require copies of receipts and, when appropriate, justification of purchases along with the approved log. Additionally, training should be approved to GJ preparers and approvers on correctly identifying the need for and recording the journal entries, handling credits on bills, and ways to avoid posting incorrect entries. Now, the Department of Finance agrees with the recommendation only in regards to our recommendation of enforcement and training.
Yep, that is correct. We do agree with the findings as it relates to the enforcement, i.e. logs not being submitted within 15 days. And we do concur with what the auditor noted regarding errors related to processing the transactions, the debits and credits. What we do not agree with is the recommendation that agencies should attach receipts to the logs for submission to the Finance Department for review. When this policy was created, audits and the Department of Finance reviewed this, and the decision was made that receipts should not be attached to the log because that would require a staffing issue for finance. The Bureau of Procurement does not have the staffing to manually review all of those receipts. So the AM policy, when established, was designed that it would be an agency responsibility to maintain the records. So finance's position is, if the audit department believes that an agency has a transaction that's inappropriate, audits should cite that agency, and the agency should develop a plan for corrective action.
But wouldn't you agree that receipts should be attached to all transactions? Whether it goes to the department or whoever, shouldn't the receipts be attached to the transaction?
In accordance with the present AM policy, it's the responsibility of each agency, their account administrator, to maintain the receipts.
Okay, I just want to know whether that $333 was refunded.
It was corrected.
Okay,
All right,
all right,
okay.
okay.
Okay. Well, as far as the $333, we don't have evidence of that being refunded, so I guess we will have to speak with your department on that.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Would you,
Also, could you follow up?
I'll follow up because at the
follow up
end
with
of
the
our audit,
board,
we had
because we
not.
want to make sure that that person wasn't overcharged.
Okay. In the response to, for the finance, the response stated that they did review the activity log. So the agency response states they reviewed the activity log, but per our finding above, we know that BAPS did not receive or provide evidence of receipt for 10 out of 24 activity logs tested. This is 40% of our sample. Therefore, the finding stands based on our testing. And in conclusion, the Department of Finance system is critical for the successful operation of the City of Baltimore. The system is relied upon for accuracy at the agency level, and the system is used by the Department of Audits for completion of the CAFR. More controls are needed to ensure proper use and understanding of the non-routine journal entries within the Department of Finance, BAPS division.
Thank you. The audit has been noted. The next item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 109, items 1 and 2, Department of Public Works, recommendation for contract award, SC 964, improvement to the sanitary sewers in the northwest area of Baltimore City. Will parties please come forward?
Good morning, Mr. President, Madam Mayor, and the Honorable Board of Estimates. My name is Carlos Stevenson. I'm an Engineer 2 in the Department of Public Works Office of Engineering and Construction. This project, sanitary contract 964, improvements to the sanitary sewers in the northwest area of Baltimore City, was advertised on November 24th, 2017. Bids were opened and received on January 10th, 2018. The engineer's estimate for this I missed this up. In total, 6 bids were received. The engineer's estimate for this project was $19,144,340. The lowest bidder, Spinello Company, bids was $17,433,000. My team and I analyzed the bids that were received, and our review indicated that the low bidder was responsive and reasonable. The agency believes that this is in the best interest of the citizens of Baltimore and the city, and recommend award of this contract to Spinello Companies.
Who's
Who's
you coming
protesting?
up?
Good morning, Mr. President, Honorable Mayor, and Board. My name is Jack Boatman, and I'm Senior Vice President with SAK Construction. And I would like to just give a 2-minute briefing on who we are and where we are. And Mr. Soderberg will talk about the irregularities we feel that occurred in this bid. We moved to the Baltimore area SAK office here about 5-6 years ago. We're currently headquartered out of the St. Louis area, but we decided that to operate on the East Coast, this was the best location. We did not just move in and start bidding. We moved in and started becoming a great citizen of the neighborhood. We do workshops for employees. We also get involved in recruiting minority and women-owned businesses. We also perform workshops pro bono for the minority and women contractors in estimating and safety so they can get their certifications. Not only that, but we support a lot of the community-based organizations, and that's why I wanted to introduce myself and my company to those who do not know us. We're not unfamiliar to the city. We've been working here, like I said, for 5 or 6 years. The other program that we have already started to work on, because being familiar with ex-offenders, and out of our headquarters office, we pioneered a program that certainly take some of the ex-offenders and work them back into the workforce. Now, we know that there's a high risk in some of that, but we know it's also necessary. That's our DNA. I get up every morning trying to figure out how do I make a difference and how do we make a difference in the neighborhoods. I'm 75 years old, can retire anytime and could have retired anytime. But my goal in life is to make sure that those kinds of things are taken care of. And when this bid came up and we saw the irregularities in it, yes, we're here to protest it. But I want to let you know that regardless of the outcome, we're here to stay. And regardless of the outcome, we will continue to move forward as a good corporate citizen. So that's a little bit about who SAK is. You can certainly Google us and see who we are a little further. But I would like for Mr. Soderberg to talk about why we protested this bid. And we're simply asking that it be reconsidered and reviewed again. Mr. Soderberg.
Good morning, board members. My name is Ken Soderberg. We are here to protest the award of this SC number 964 contract to anyone but SAK Construction LLC as the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. The issue before us is unbalanced bids. And I think that from what I've seen and heard, this is an issue that is prevalent in bidding in Baltimore City. And I think it's important that attention be paid to it and that the issue be addressed. If we don't succeed on this bid protest, we certainly wanted to keep it on your radar screen because it is an issue that is detrimental to government contracting. The basis for where we're coming from is the Green Book, the Baltimore City specifications. There's several sections that deal with unbalanced bids. One of them is section 0021.13.11, and the other one is 0051.00.05. And I'll quote from the latter section. It says, and this is in the Green Book, to better ensure fair competition and to permit a determination of the lowest bid, unbalanced bids may be rejected by the Board of Estimates at its sole discretion. So you have the discretion and the power. It's not mandatory, but you may, if you feel that it's egregious, to reject unbalanced bids. So here, Spiniello was the low bidder, Metro was the second bidder, and SAK was the third low bidder. However, both Spiniello's bid and Metro's bid were materially unbalanced. So we're asking the board to reject those two bids and accept SAK's bid. So what is an unbalanced bid? All right, a bid can be unbalanced in two ways. One, a bid can be front-end loaded. And what does that mean? Well, there's Maryland law on that, and it's the appeal of Blast Tech Enterprises, Inc. The case says, if there appears to be material front-end loading, this is a quote from the case, which places unreasonably high cost on early payment items, potentially leaving insufficient funds if the contractor should default or fail to perform later in the job, then the state may reject the bid on the grounds that the bidder is not responsible. So that's front-end loading. And both Spiniello and Metro's bid are guilty of front-end loading. Each of them has placed a $1 million cost on bid item number 101 for mobilization. And we all know that the very first thing that happens on the job is mobilization. So right off the bat, they mobilize, they collect $1 million, they can bill for it. By contrast, SAK's bid has $525,000 for mobilization. Certainly the city can look at the engineer's estimate. I wasn't privy to it, but I'm sure the engineer's estimate had a reasonable number for mobilization. Basically, each of the Spiniello and Metro are taking an additional $500,000 right off the top and putting it in their pocket so they have it. And that is, as the case of Blast Tech Enterprises said, it can be detrimental to the government, who's paying out too much money in advance and upfront. All right, secondly, the other reason a bid can be unbalanced, it can be mathematically unbalanced. And there's Maryland law on that too. It's the case of pile foundation construction. Basically, and this is a quote, the mathematically unbalanced bid is one in which the bid contains understated and overstated unit prices. The bid is material unbalanced if there is a reasonable doubt that award to the contractor would not result in the lowest ultimate cost to the government. So here, Spiniello's bid contains both drastically overstated and drastically understated pricing. And what's interesting is that the overstated pricing is for certain guaranteed and non-contingent items, whereas the understated pricing is for contingent items. So what's happening here is contractors are playing games with the unit prices, and there are a lot of unit prices in this contract. Spiniello has overstated its pricing for the guaranteed and non-contingent items by nearly $1.5 million. These are high likelihood contract items that there's a high likelihood that they will be performed on the project. Whereas, on the other hand, for the contingent items, which are low likelihood of it's contingent, so it may not happen, they have understated their pricing by $1.6 million. So what's happening here is that Spiniello is gambling over $1.6 million that this contingent item work will never happen. That's what's going on here. So now you got to look at it. What happens if that non-contingent, or if the contingent work doesn't take place, doesn't come to fruition? Well, in that case, SAK's cost to the city would be $189,000 lower than Spiniello's cost to the city for this project. So there's a, if you throw out the contingent items that they're gambling on, that they don't think will come to fruition. If they don't come to fruition, then we would be the low bidder. And that's what you have to look at under Maryland law. Metra's bid is even more egregious. Metra has overstated pricing for guaranteed and non-contingent items by $8.5 million. And they have understated the contingent items by over $10 million. So they're really playing games. In essence, Metra's gambling over $10 million that this contingent item work will never come to fruition. And if it doesn't, they're going to make a windfall. If you look at the numbers compared to SAK, then under the scenario, if the contingent items don't actually happen, and that's why they're called contingent, because it's a low likelihood that they're going to happen. It's just in case money. Well, if that doesn't happen, then SAK's cost to the city would be many millions of dollars lower than Metra's cost to the city. So I hope you have an understanding of what unbalanced bids are, how it can be detrimental to the city. And as I've explained here, SAK's bid is not unbalanced, and it would yield the lowest price to the city if the contingent items don't take place. And in light of the foregoing, you should reject both Spiniello's bid and Metra's bid.
Metra is not in it, so it's just Spinelli.
Okay.
You and Spinelli.
Gotcha. Okay, well then I won't waste time on Metra. Well, that's it. So we ask you to reject those two bids and award the contract to SAK as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, or in the alternative, rebid the project. Thank you.
And we appreciate your review and appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Anybody have anything to say about that?
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Mr. President, Madam Comptroller, members of the board. Michael Mullen from the Law Department. All I'd like to say briefly is that the board has full authority to accept an unbalanced bid, just as you have authority to reject it. The task before you is to listen to the technical presentation to determine whether this really will result in the lowest bid to the city and whether it's in the city's best interest. Mr. Stevenson and the outside consultants have looked very carefully at all the prices. They're here prepared to answer any questions that you may have, to address the various issues that have been raised by the protester. Mr. Stevenson is here to present with the board's permission.
Can you just address the contingency piece up front?
As far as contingent items, the lowest bidder is assuming risk that we're not going to use the contingent items, but our experience in previous contracts shows that with the unknown conditions of the utility, that there's a high likelihood that we would use the contingent items. We did conduct an analysis of the bids associated with if 50, 75, and 90% of the contingent items were used, in all of those analyses, Spinello was still the lowest bidder. With
So it would only
total
be if
contract.
it would only be if 100% of the contingencies were realized, would SAK squeak under Spinello, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And Mike Mullen, that would be a $189,000 difference with no contingencies.
Okay. Anything?
All right, as long as we don't come back with any cost overruns, I'm okay. No extra work orders.
Right.
They bid the project, and they have to stand by what they bid it.
I'm confident that me and my team can hold their feet to the fire as far as all bid items are concerned.
I'm gonna call you back
override.
here.
That's way above my pay grade
call you back.
to assure
I'm gonna
that
call
there,
you.
who should-
there will be no cost overruns.
So who should be addressing?
I'm not able to see into the
Call
future.
you back, or Rudy Child gonna have to explain something, because I don't want to see no cost overruns.
I understand, sir.
I'll
and
entertain
I
a
will-
motion.
Mr. President, I know I speak for the entire board in welcoming SAK as a citizen of our great city, and we appreciate their work, but on the basis of the facts and the controlling standards on recommendation of council, I move that the bid be awarded as recommended and that the protest be rejected.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being no more business before the board, we will recess till bid opening at 12 noon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sorry. The board resident is now in session for the opening and receiving of bids. I apologize for the delay. Okay. There are no addenda for today. Wait a minute, I do have,
And I don't have
So-
a sheet. She doesn't have a sheet.
how do I? Okay, I do have, but it says no addenda here. Yeah, I do, but there are addenda here.
No, there's no agenda.
No addenda, okay. Okay. Okay, I don't really need, okay, it's advertised, I don't need that. I thought maybe it was addenda. Okay, no problem. Okay, you have one this week, Dana? Yes, I have. Okay, good, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You guys are punishing me.
Never,
Thank you.
Okay. All right, there are no addenda for today. One.
So noted. Thank you.
GS 16826R, Western District Police Department, partial roof replacement and structure. A bid bond is required if the amount is over $100,000. Detweiler Roofing with a bid bond, $218,000.
This will be referred to the Department of General Services for review. B50005390. Closed top trailers with ejection device. A bid bond of 5% is required.
Spectre Manufacturing, Inc., with a bid bond. $351,132. No, I'm still looking to see. I'm back again. Okay. Warren Equipment, Inc., $371,628, subject to verification of bid bond on file with the Department of Finance.
These will be referred to the Bureau of Purchases for Review and Finance for verification.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Audrey. B50005393, Toro Groundmaster Lawn Mowers. Wait a minute. Check your pages here. That's what I'm saying. It's just a different name. The number here. See, this is the number I'm reading from.
Because the number is different.
Right, so let me see if, what they say on there. Okay. Do have that. Okay, they have, okay, good. Okay, we'll stick with it then. Yeah. Okay. This bid also requires a bid bond of 5%. Again, this is B50053993. However, I do note that the pages of the solicitation are numbered as B500538, 16 cubic yard load packers. It's going to be, but that's the extended price, so it's okay. You can read that. Because the other. Okay, this is an item bid. Prices will not be read, but the bids will be available by 2 o'clock today at the latest for your review. Turf Equipment and Supply Company, Inc., with a bid bond. Thank you.
Okay, this bid will be referred to the Bureau of Purchases for review.
Waste Quip, no bid. I'm sorry, thank you. I apologize, I need to read the actual bid. This is B50005413 refuse compactor. A bid bond is 5%. A bid bond of 5% is required. Waste Quip, no bid.
Can I get some clarification? Is that Waste Equipment Management Company? Waste Quip? Oh, okay. All right. Is that from Statesville,
Yeah, Waste Equip LLC, the address.
from North Carolina?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Statesville, North Carolina. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right, I apologize.
Thank you. Jesco Inc., $869,482.63 with a bid bond. Thank you. Let's see if this is the same. Okay, to make sure the page was different. Okay. Humdinger Equipment / Tana, TANA, with a bid bond. $897,500.
These bids will be referred to the Bureau of Purchases for review.
B50005241, janitorial services for the Department of General Services, Group 1 through 6. This bid has been canceled. Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you. TR 18010, urgent need contract citywide. A bid bond is required if the amount is over $100,000. Manuel Louise Construction Company, Inc., with a bid bond. $2,627,585. P. Flanagan and Sons Incorporated, with a bid bond. $2,349,931.
These will be referred to the Department of Transportation.
Excuse me. WC 1339, Upton Neighborhood and Vicinity Water Main Rehabilitation. A bid bond is required if the amount is over $100,000. Anchor Construction Corp., with a bid bond. $14,850,283. Metra Industries with a bid bond. $10,609,000. I'm sorry, I misread that. Again, this is Metro Industries with a bid bond. $10,689,354. Thank you. Civil Construction LLC with the bid bond. $8,544,139. Crazy today. Spiniello Companies with a bid bond. $7,330,000. J. Fletcher Kramer and Son, Inc., with a bid bond. $8,204,428.
These will be referred to the Department of Public Works.
W.M. Slosher Company, Inc., with a bid bond. I'm sorry, I have to read the bid again. This is, it's one of those days I can't keep these straight.
Cahill Fitness.
Yes, RP 17806, Cahill Fitness and Wellness Center. And the bid bond is required if it's over $100,000. W.M. Slosher Company, Inc., with a bid bond. $20,488,000. Because that's by itself. I want to see if this goes with this. Right, I'll check the name. Let's see. Yeah, that's great. Okay, let's see if this is theirs. Yes, okay, great. All right. Dustin Construction, Inc., with a bid bond. $17,908,000.
All right, these will be referred to the Department of Public Works for review.
Whose bid this is for? This is theirs. This is their MPE stuff. I'm gonna put it with this one here. Papers are loose. Okay. There being no further business, we adjourn. Thank you.